Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you're new. We are pretty stoked about today's video, which is actually a lighting video. Typically I do a lot of audio videos on this channel, but this one's about lights. So if you've been watching the channel at all for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm mainly a sound guy by trade and not necessarily a lighting guy, but I'm a lighting guy by necessity. Doing the size shows that I'm doing, I don't have a giant budget for name brand lighting, and that has caused me to get into the world of affordable and sort of smaller brands in terms of lighting fixtures that I've added to my rig. And one of the brands that I've used since the start is actually a brand called Shehds. They make all sorts of different fixtures, par lights, wash lights, moving lights, all sorts of different things. And basically we connected here on YouTube, which is so cool because I never thought my YouTube channel would get to a point where companies would be sending me products and asking me to review them, but here we are. I'm very thankful for that opportunity. So recently they reached out to me and wanted to send me 2 of these 3-in-1 beam spots. And these are actually brand new. They are just coming out in June of 2025, and they're either gonna be out once this video drops or they're gonna be coming out very shortly. And I'm pretty stoked to review them, and to review them properly, I brought in my friend Zach here, who is a professional LD. He does stuff for huge touring artists and all sorts of venues and just all sorts of stuff. He runs Grand MA3, he runs Hog, he runs, you know, all the big consoles and knows way more about lighting than I do, so I felt to give this light a proper review is I'd bring in a actual industry professional LD. So when Shehds reached out to me to send me some lights in general, I kind of talked to Zach and I was like, hey, what do we want to see? Because I have some wash lights, I have some par lights. What is another fixture I can add to my rig that is gonna make it, you know, better, take it to the next step? And I basically sent Shehds' website to Zach, and Zach was able to point me in the direction of getting a
You want like a hybrid fixture, something that you'll get the bang for your buck, but also you're trying to bring a big show to the venues that you're doing with your band.
Right.
So like stuff that will have full functionality and you can use the light for anything that you're wanting.
Yeah, and one of the things that I suggested was a beam light, and you said, no, I should get a spotlight. What's the difference between the two?
So a beam light is quite literally what it says. It's just a beam of light, whereas the spot has a zoom, so the iris and the beam angle can get bigger or smaller. So if you're trying to spot the a guitarist on stage or do I don't know, a spread thing, you can easily hit that.
Okay, so it's not just like a stick of light through the haze. You can actually put a cone shape to it and have it be a spotlight. Cool, yeah, so that's why we were excited to get the beam spot and not just a beam light from Shehds, because it can actually do the full functions that we expect from a light fixture like this. This first video is gonna be definitely the first impressions, the initial review. We dug into this already. We've already played with these for a couple of hours, and then I'm gonna try to put out a second video that shows these in action. I have a show coming up, a festival that I put on called River City Slam. It's a big metal fest. I'm gonna use these at that. It's gonna be super sick. But this first video, we're just gonna go over our first impressions of this fixture, what it can do, what it can't do, what it's good at, and hopefully get Zach's insight in terms of if he walks into a venue or a rig full of these, you know, what are his thoughts and how can he navigate this fixture as opposed to a fixture that costs thousands and thousands of dollars more. Because this is, once again, one of those smaller, more affordable lighting brands that a company like me can actually afford to get. My first impressions when I got these was that they're heavy, they're built very well, they definitely have some weight to them, they were smooth. When I fired them up the first time, they kind of did their homing procedure and the movement looked really sick. I was able to get the beams turned on and everything working with my lighting file. I typically use DOS Light for lighting software, whereas Zach uses Grand MA, so that's you know, totally 2 different ends of the spectrum in terms of software capabilities. I was able to get this light imported in. Shehds sent me a fixture file, and my first impressions of generally like the look and the feel of the light was very high. This is part of their GalaxyJet series, which is sort of their flagship series of fixtures. If I compare them to these I think they're 19 by 15 moving wash lights that are behind us. These are definitely a lot quieter in their movements. They're faster. The beam looks a lot nicer, and this is definitely like a tier above their standard tier of lights. Zach, what did you think when you walked in here today about these?
When I first saw them, I was surprised at the build quality of them. Like you said, like they're very robust. I feel like they can really take any gig that you would put them on.
Yeah.
I noticed that they come with a clamp on them already, so they're ready to hang, but it folds down. Yeah, so they have these built into here, but they also have the stands which sits in, the clamp can just like go under, so you don't have to worry about undoing the clamp or putting it on or off or any of that.
Yeah, that's always super annoying is to have to use the quarter turns, so that's sick that they include that.
Which was nice. Yeah, really just the full build quality, it was way like better than what I was expecting from like a budget-friendly fixture.
And what we have on the back here.
Oh yeah, this is.
We got PowerCon in and out, which I know it's not true one. We'd like to see true one, but again, this is a budget light.
Yeah.
And all the rest of my stuff is PowerCon, so I'm not mad. Anyways, we have both 3-pin and 5-pin, which is sick. And they also do this thing called RDM, which is
remote data management. You can send and edit things. So like if this fixture was hanging on a truss at a venue, you can RDM it into it and change the address and any like profile things that you would have to do typically on the front of the fixture itself.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do that, but that's cool that lights can do that in general. We got into programming some things, and Zach actually brought in a file that he's been working on for his festival, and he tapped into these. Tell me what it was like to clone in and basically walk into a venue full of these.
Yeah, it was actually surprisingly easy. There were a couple things that I ran into that I think you also ran into when you were doing it. Like the dimmer shutter, which is the strobe channel, had to have a default to it that we had to update. And I'm sure as the fixture gets more and more used, like Evan said, the fixture itself, and you saw how quick that was, the fixture itself is brand new, so as these get used more and more, the profiles and everything that you use to patch into them will get updated. But we had a little snafu with the dimmer to make it like come on and off and strobe properly, but really that was the only hiccup that I ran into as far as lighting using them goes. The color wheel, so this is a wheel fixture, so it's not RGB. You have a flag set of wheels that change, so like if you want red, there's a physical mechanical thing in the light which will change it and put a red thing, like a filter over the light beam, which is important to note, because you can split, but it's hard, you can't really mix the colors together, but the flag wheel seems robust and quick. I was doing color snaps with them between white, red, and blue, and different colors that I would typically use on a show, and it was quick enough to handle those.
Gotcha.
I was impressed by it.
Nice. Is that typical for a lot of modern fixtures to have a color wheel, or is it more typical nowadays for the big names to have an RGB LED? Or how does this compare in terms of like how it operates with the color wheel, the Gobo wheel, and Prism and stuff like that?
So the color wheel is very common.
Okay.
A lot of other lights too will give you the option to control like specific hues and stuff, and they'll use another set of color wheels which are CMY.
Okay.
So you'll be mixing in CMY instead of RGB, and then underneath that wheel too, they'll also have a set of color wheels for deep red, deep blue.
Okay.
Various different ways.
So you just get way more combos.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas this has one wheel that gives you, I think it was like 7 or 8 different colors.
And every color that this fixture had in the color wheel, I had a color preset on the file already.
Yeah.
So it was very common colors. It's not giving you anything that you wouldn't expect. You have blue, orange, pink, violet, red.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. I was when I patched this into my file, I also had all the colors pre-built in the file that went along with the wheel, so that was nice. One of the things that I was excited about when I was getting a beam light was the ability to do gobos and prisms, which is just a cool look when you get, you know, the lights facing the audience and you get the prisms going and things, you know, pop through the haze, and it just makes some really cool patterns. So as far as like gobo selection and prism, I mean, what do you think this has enough of those in here to like make the show happen, or
yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
For sure. Yeah, cool. It has enough to make the show happen and do what you're looking for. Now, the second so this is 2 gobo wheels. The second gobo wheel is a rotating gobo wheel. The first gobo wheel is not. And I think, unfortunately, one of my gripes with the fixture is that the first gobo wheel I really wish was a rotating gobo wheel.
Gotcha.
Because the second wheel has cool gobos and it has like a colored gobo in there, but when I'm looking at a fixture, I want like control over the color and the gobo separately, and I don't want the color built into the gobo wheel or anything like that. Although the prism makes up for this.
Right, because like when I patched it into my file, to get that gobo rotate look, I just engage the prism, which makes the beam wider anyways, and then the prism rotates. So you can still rotate with all those first wheel of gobos, you just have to use the prism at the same time.
Oh, let's talk about the ring.
Yeah, the ring. This has like this thing ring around here, right? I didn't know what to expect with these. Initially, personally, I thought this was a little gimmicky, but I know a lot of fixtures have this now. So it's basically like an LED ring that you can do some random effects, but also there is a selection of colors in the in the, what do you call it, the DMX range? Yeah. So it has, you know, based on the DMX value you send to this channel, it'll give you different colors or different like presets where it'll just kind of do something. So I thought the ring was cool. It does, I don't know how much I will use it yet, because I'm still getting this light programmed in with like even just all sorts of dimmer chases and stuff like that. But I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Is it something usable?
Oh, for sure. If I was programming out like a band or using it for a band that has a set of songs that I'm doing, I could build in these ring effects and I would be able to use them and do all sorts of strobing, and it's cool. I think it gives depth to the light. Like it gives you something else with the light rather than just like the 3-in-1. It's really when I'm going out and I'm looking at fixtures, I'm looking for the ability to control like everything with the fixture. I want to be able to, because I don't know, the band, like a band that I'm working with can be playing like one crazy ballad rock thing and then just go into a hard metal song. Like I don't know what's happening. I want these lights to be versatile. And I think the ring can add a little bit more of a depth to it. And if I was programming out a band, I would use the rings for sure. Okay.
Zach's definitely the guy that wants to use all the pixels, the max channel mode.
Yes.
He does some really cool stuff with, you know, fixtures that have more channels, so that makes sense coming from you. I think the ring's cool. I think I'll eventually use it in my file, but I'm at a different level than Zach in terms of my programming capabilities.
Just for like home use though, well not home use, but like show use, the ring is simple enough that it has built-in little macros that you can use. So you don't have to get in depth with like each individual pixel or
that's nice.
Take up a whole channel count on the light itself.
That is true. That is something I was scared, is if this had like, you know, if this took up 10 or 20 channels just to use this, I wouldn't use it at all, because it would just take up too many addresses in my low universe rig. Whereas like, you know, somebody like Zach with a full MA and like a 10, 20 universes available or whatever he's got, you know, he doesn't care how many pixels he has, because he just has the space for it. I think another thing we can cover maybe is basically the usability of this fixture when you're coming at, you know, a different angle of like somebody like me, or even somebody with a smaller rig, like a DJ wedding, like a wedding setup. Maybe you don't have a ton of fixtures like me, and, you know, I can speak a little bit in terms of this light is enough for me to get to do what I want. I don't use lights on auto mode. I know some like DJ setups might use lights on auto mode. These do have some different sound modes and stuff like as you'd expect, especially from a lower end fixture or just a smaller brand that makes fixtures. There's a lot of them out there. But it also does, I think, have enough features in the DMX mode where you can still use it in a professional setting and a real venue. Would you agree, Zach, that there's
totally agree.
There's a good range of usability?
I would spec this for a 1200 cap room.
Okay.
Like, I think they throw light well enough.
Yeah.
And anywhere from 1200 like down, I would use this light.
Yeah. It's hard to tell in this small room. We're in my little 20 by 20 or 25 by 25 studio. I haven't got these in a big room yet. So far, the beams cut through the haze that we put in here way more than these beam washes, even when they're zoomed in.
Even with the prism, you don't get the like hue around it, or like it all cuts through in the splicing of the beam.
So I'm excited to see them in a bigger room. So cool. I think it's good to know that if this light can, take on a larger show per se. That's one of the things that we're gonna find out in the second video when we get that put together. When we get into the second video, what we're gonna try to do is show some examples of this being used in a big room. I'll have that footage from River City Slam. And then also I'd like to try to dive in with my software, DasLight, and also MA3, and really get into like patching this fixture in and showing how it can, stand up to either end of the budget spectrum of users that are gonna be buying a fixture like this.
For
I
sure.
think that's something we can do. All right, so let's wrap up video 1 here about these beam spots. I'm gonna finish it off with a question that you probably just wanna ask yourselves or you wanna know anyways. Zach, when you're looking for, if you're speccing this out, like if a band was like, here's X amount of dollars and you are literally just shopping for lights for a beam spotlight, is this something you would consider, or like what are you looking for? What are like 2 or 3 things you're looking for in a light, and would this fit the bill in terms of its capabilities?
Yes, I would probably spec this light, or at least give it a high marking on my specking for looking for fixtures. I like the fact that it's versatile. It's a 3-in-1 light. It's a wash, it's a beam, and it's a spot.
Yeah.
I can use it for a multitude of things. It has that prism, it has that zoom. And so the versatility itself just gives me the ability to do so much and save money on buying other fixtures, because this light can handle the weight of pulling as a spotlight or as a wash light or as a beam light.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, I don't have a final price on this because again, these aren't released, and that price will be listed when they do get released in June. I'm estimating this will be a sub $1,000 spot fixture. And when you're comparing this to fixtures that are a similar size and output in terms of, this is a 300 watt light, Zach was giving me some examples that were well above $2,000 per fixture. So for a third of the price, or maybe even less, I feel like this light packs a punch in terms of its class.
I'm very interested in seeing how it functions within a bigger room.
Yeah.
How it throws.
Sweet. If you guys are checking out these lights to purchase, you dig what you're seeing, there is an affiliate link in the comments. This is one of those videos that pays the bills per se. They did give me an affiliate link, so if you purchase through those, you're helping out the channel, which I greatly appreciate. I hope you guys got something out of this video. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I think that's all we got.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's all it needs.